Good evening. Welcome to the Trey Olds Radio Show. My guest today is radio producer Chris Korman. Stay tuned. Okay, my first question to you is, now you mentioned you've had some problems. You said you are high-functioning autistic, or what was your diagnosis again? You said high-functioning autism or...
My disability?
Mm-hmm.
A learning disability.
Learning disability?
Yes.
How did you overcome challenges with that, and how did your father, the great Harvey Korman, you mentioned he was a hero to you, inspiration to you. How did he help you cope with this, with your challenges?
Well, since I was early diagnosed at the age of probably 4, because my skills were not comparative to the other children in my class, my parents thought there was something wrong, and I also had to deal with a speech impediment and I had surgery on my eyes at the age of 2 to correct double vision, so I had a patch on my eye for a good portion of my childhood. So I had a lot of struggles early, and my father was a parent first, and that was, in my personal feeling, was that he never really put his fame ahead of my development. He got me to the right people, the right doctors, the right people in the field of special ed to help me. He had the luxury of doing so because of his status. So he didn't. He never really said, I'm a performer first and a father second. He always put being a father first, and he never made me feel less than because I had a challenge. He always celebrated my differences as a blessing, but he didn't use. He also said, don't use it as a crutch, as a justification for not trying either. So, I mean, and one of the first things he did say was, he said, the 2 great skills or resources I could use are theater, because you learn how to memorize material, so you work on retention of information, information that you have to be able to retrieve over a period of long time since you do reply.
Mm-hmm.
Speech pathology, which is you got to be able to do dialects, you got to be able to articulate, and those were the 2 tools he used with me and advocated for me to pursue. For no other reason than people are going to judge you by the way you talk, by how you articulate yourself, and whether you have a learning disability or not, or whatever challenges you have in this world, you got to be able to articulate yourself either on paper or verbally. So those were 2 seminal tools to help me get through some tough times in my life. And because, and he was just the absolute, complete, 100% total advocate in my life. So that's what made him my hero. He just, I didn't see him as a celebrity. I saw him, he's my father.
Yeah.
And he put me first. And whatever pride or insecurity he had as a parent of a child with a learning disability, that always came second. And that's the key thing for any parent dealing with a child with disabilities. This isn't about your ego. This isn't about your pride. This is about serving the child's needs.
Yeah.
So those are the key things.
Yeah.
Well, at least for me, they were key. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but,
Yeah, that's how it was for me. I have high-functioning autism, and, I came first to my parents, besides other things.
Well, I mean, I think, probably, cats, I'm sure your parents will say, figuring out how to help you compensate, find your strengths, find your weaknesses early is certainly probably is the key. I mean, it's the problem with autism, or the problem with, I would say, Trey, with a lot of disabilities that are invisible, is that people don't tend to take it as seriously. Let's say somebody with physical handicaps. Like my best friend has cerebral palsy.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell right away by being in a wheelchair. You can tell certain people with Down syndrome what their struggle is. You can tell certain people by the way they talk or the way whatever. But unless I actually do something that tells you I have learning disabilities, you wouldn't know. So sometimes that's the worst part of it, is because people tend to downplay it if they can't see it. So, but being around, it has its plus and minuses. Let me put it this way: being the son of a famous person can have its down parts, because they think, well, if you have money or you have some status, then you don't really know what struggling is. You don't really have problems, and that's not really fair to the person who's struggling.
Yeah.
Then you label them. Oh, well, your father's famous. Your father's wealthy. I'm like, well, what does it have to do with my disability?
Yeah.
My father's fame and wealth didn't keep me from having brain damage. So how do those two correlate? They don't. But people want to diminish who you are and judge you because it makes them feel better. I'm like, well, okay, well, I don't really have time for people that like that in my life who are going to judge me based on what they think I am, not who I am. And so you feel the same way.
Yeah. People these days are, non-understanding with people with special needs. They don't understand it. They don't know what it's like unless it happens to them.
That's right. That's why that old saying, don't judge somebody until you walked in their shoes. So, but as far as what I do is, as far as a radio producer or whatever, for TV Confidential, radio personality, Ed Robinson, and any of the interviews I've done with all the people I've done over 11 years, I told them I would not have access to the people I have access to if it wasn't for my father. But at the end of the day, I have to still know the game.
Yeah.
I still have to know how to approach an agent or a manager, how to do it tactfully, how to do it conservatively, because these actors and performers, you come across them all day long, all year long. It's 365 days out of the year. They get bombarded with demands. They can't do them all.
Yeah.
So you have to really hook them. Why should I do your show? And that's the hook. You have to give them the motivation, the reason. And so that's sales research, that's marketing, that's branding. But you have to have the confidence to know, you can call Ed Asner or anybody, why should they listen to you? And that's what you challenge. That's your challenge as a host. That's my challenge as a producer. How you come across confident, and you can't look desperate either.
Yeah.
You can't come off as, oh, I need you on my show this day. You better have a game plan.
Yeah.
Because things happen, people fall out, and most of the time you'll come across this, and I've come across this irregardless of who my father is. Most managers or agents or performers, unless it benefits them in the pocketbook, they don't want their client talking to you. That's the reality, and that's the hardest part of what you do. And what I do is, the agent and managers can be like, okay, how does this benefit my client? And unless you give them a really good reason, they're like, well, talk to us later when you have a bigger demographic. Or, and that's the game. It's a business. At the end of the day, it's business.
Yeah.
They say it's show business, but it's more business than show.
Yeah.
And that's a part of all this, that what you do, what I do. And there's a lot of diplomacy that comes with it, and you can't take it too personally. But all you can do is say, "Hey, can I come back to you in 5 months?" And that's what I've learned about being around this business is, my conduct, my behavior does reflect on my father at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to be mindful of that. I can't come off as arrogant. I can't come off as demanding. Just because they knew my father, that doesn't give me the right to act like, hey, my dad knows you. You better do this for me. So those are all the things that I have learned about being in this business and being his son, and I would not have the confidence to speak or articulate, market, brand myself. Had none of those two tools, theater, speech pathology, did not serve me well. So my father did me a lot of good by pushing me into advocating for me to go into, focusing on speech pathology and theater. So that's a long-winded answer to your question.
But it's a good answer. It answered my question.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I try. What did you? What ce did you want to? Cover. His career. It's his early life. My life. I'll cover anything really.
How did you start as a radio producer? Did your father help you get boosted in that, or how did?
Not until after he died, Trey, to tell you the truth. He's been gone for 11 years. I've been doing this for 5. So I came upon this by accident, not on purpose. Let me tell you that right now. I don't think anybody goes out of their way to say, "Hey, let's be a radio producer." It doesn't work that way. I had done Ed's show so many times as a guest, and he saw that I could articulate. I was good with networking and all these things we were talking about how do you market yourself, how you talk, how you approach yourself, how do you present yourself. And Ed just found that I had some skills that were productive, that I helped him with expanding his brand, and I could access people in the business that he didn't have access to, that I did because of my name. And but my real first love is actually elder care. I want to work with the elderly, and that's the field I'm trying to get back into. Because that's the field that I grew up in, that I got a degree in, I feel the most comfortable, and more importantly, it allows me to be me. Not Harvey Korman's son, just Chris Korman's activities assistant. And that's what I really want to do. And that's what I love to do. That allows me to thrive. And it makes my wife happy because my wife is so tired. The show business part of my life, it's not even funny. It's just like, because there's more to life in show business. It's not who I am. I'm his son, but that's not who I am. I'm her husband. I'm Scott's father, and I have a 60-year-old boy. And it's those roles, father and husband, that are going to sustain me long, long after my dad. I realize he's only been gone 20 years, 11 years, but, there's going to be a point in the next 30 or 40 years that people might not know who my father is. Well, that should or should not matter if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do for my family. So, I have to learn to strike a balance between both. Some days are good. I'm good at it. Some days I'm awful at it.
Yeah.
So, I don't wish this on anybody. Let's put it this way. It's not a easy life to be. And what's worse is it's not just my father. I have 3 other actors in my family. So my father wasn't the only one in the business. My brother-in-law is an actor. My stepfather was an actor. And my cousin, R.D. Johnson from Laughing, is a cousin.
Oh, wow.
From my dad's side. So collectively, I have probably 180 years worth of wisdom in my brain. And unless I somehow purge myself of this information, my wife will kill me. So, and just because she just grew up in Maryland, Alabama, so she's not used to this world, and she's not impressed with it. It's because at the end of the day, I'm her husband. I'm not a celebrity kid. So it's just very grounding that way. She keeps me grounded because it's very easy to get caught up in the craziness and the fun of this business. tell you, as you know, Trey, there's a lot of cutthroat. There's a lot of back